the song Excess, which sounds like she's literally just talking about going on a shopping spree or uh spending ridiculous amounts of money on ridiculous things, but in reality she's just saying that she really doesn't need any of this, and it's actually kind of ridiculous. And it's also speaking to like a lot of the other themes on the album that she has about environmentalism, and how like we as
Yeah.
human beings, we deal in excess in the way that we conduct ourselves, and the excess that we exist in and live with kind of causes this incredible harm to the planet that we live on.
Let me put you on game.
Okay, let's get into our second review. It's going to be the review of the new album from Rina Sawayama. So, if you're unfamiliar with her, Rina is an English pop artist by way of Japan. She had her debut EP with Rina in 2017, and this is her project from 2020. We wanted to do some out of the box reviews. We'll have more of these, but I just wanted to talk about one of my favorite albums because it is one of my favorite albums of 2020, and she's one of my favorite new artists. But I wanted to get your impression of it because I haven't gotten to talk about it yet. So
Yeah.
this is actually kind of blowing up. It's gotten her a lot of acclaim, and it's been really well received. But as someone that doesn't necessarily listen to albums like this that sound like
Yeah.
this, I wanted to get your impressions of what you thought about the album initially. Like, what are your first impressions?
So my first impressions was I think I did hear Dynasty, and I think I heard it from you for the first time
Yeah, on my
off
playlist.
your.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking, I'm like, yo, where did I hear this song before? I've heard this jam. Like, did I see this on some, NBA cutscene or, some YouTuber's channel? And then I remember, oh no, Jared put me on. He put me onto some game. Haha. And so overall, my thoughts of this album was like, she is dynamic as F, man. And her range vocally, her production, that her production team, this dude, what's his name?
Clarence Clarity.
Clarence Clarity. Yeah, he put in some work, and she blends so many different elements, but has a core rock base and a metal base that is really fun and very engaging. And I'm just glad to have heard an album from a different area, but was so incredibly fun to listen to. You know what I mean? This is a really fun album. And she did a lot of cool stuff that I thoroughly enjoyed. So thank you for putting me onto this album. This was a lot of fun for me.
Nah, you're welcome, bro. That's what we do. We put each other on game.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Dramatic eyebrow raise for the win. Yeah, I love because coming from her EP to this, like I heard them both back to back, so it was like quite an experience, to be honest. It's I love the risks that she takes on this album. Like, of course, it's pop music, so it's definitely catchy, but with her vocals and Clarence Clarity's production, there's so many different little quirky and experimental aspects of like so many different songs. Like the bones of it is pop, but like the meat of it is based in like a lot of other genres in terms of rock music or soul or experimental pop. Like there's so many different genres that she's experimenting with. I wanted to get your what were your impressions of the first like 3 songs? Because when I first heard them, like I didn't know what what I was getting into or like what I was experiencing the first time I heard them. So the first 3 songs, if you guys aren't familiar, it's Dynasty, XS, and STFU.
Dynasty, I was like, okay. It felt like a track that I would hear in like maybe a video game. And it was very Asian in its thematic expression. You think about the way that dynasties worked in the East, whether it's in China, whether it's in Japan, and that's kind of how they conceptualize their ruling class and the people that governed over their people in, you know, in their history. But it's a certified jam. I mean, the elements of rock and guitar and her vocals, along with the solid guitar solo, was just magical. And then you turn into a song like Excess. I'm like, what is this? Like that transition was like, but you just kind of go with the flow. And if you take it as a pop song, I just imagine this song being played in every boutique, Gucci, Chanel, Louis Vuitton store, to just influence people to just swipe more and not think about it.
Yeah.
Where, you know, I can imagine someone wearing AirPods Max, you know, expensive ass headphones with a black card, going on a shopping spree, dropping 15 grand wherever, and just not giving an F, because that's what this song kind of makes you feel. Like, I want it all. I want to hear yes. I don't want to hear no. You will wait on me hand and foot as I drop money on expensive stuff. And that is just simple as that. And a part of me was like, man, I wish I could live that way. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Spending with no, you know, without a reservation. And the video was pretty funny as well. And kind of had a layer to it that I was like, okay, she's not just like an airhead, you know, she has depth to what she's trying to portray in her artistry. And I love that. And then you get into a STFU, which is just more metal and just a lot more aggressive, with an interesting mix of just soothing melodies at some point. And then you just get into the headbanging like metal chords, and it's like, what is this? But it's so fun. You know, it's like, it's definitely a very interesting first 3 tracks. How about you?
Yeah, this album like hit me in the face the first time I ever heard it. Like, of course, like you said, Dynasty. I never actually thought about Dynasty that way, even though like it's literally in the name. I never thought about it from the perspective of actual like royalty, which I think is a really cool perspective on it. But then also, like, you know, on the lyrics, she's actually just talking about how like the disjointed and the dysfunctional relationship between her parents like affects the way that she lives her life, which is, I think, all the like outside of the actual theme of the song, but just having themes to your songs, even if they are covered up by really catchy or glossy production, is really cool. You know, like, she's not just talking about nothing for the sake of nothing. Like, she's actually putting real themes into the like actual different songs. And then, like you said earlier, like when the song swells and she gets into like her falsetto alongside the electric guitar solo, like that's like one of the best moments in music in 2020. Like it blew my mind. And then XS, it actually really reminded me of Swimming Pools in a way, by Kendrick Lamar. Not anything at all sonically, obviously they're completely different, but how Swimming Pool, you will hear it, Swimming Pools, you'll hear it played in the club, and you'll hear it played as a drinking anthem. But like, if you just listen to the chorus, that's just what it sounds like. But on the verses, he's actually talking about like how alcoholism has affected him and his family, and how he feels like peer pressure to drink, when in reality, like, he's not that much of a drinker, but because he's around people, he feels a need to engage in, you know, pun intended, excess, which leads us into the song Excess, which sounds like she's literally just talking about going on a shopping spree, or spending ridiculous amounts of money on ridiculous things. But in reality, she's just saying that she really doesn't need any of this, and it's actually kind of ridiculous. And it's also speaking to like a lot of the other themes on the album that she has about environmentalism, and how like we as human beings, we deal in excess in the way that we conduct ourselves, and the excess that we exist in and live with kind of causes this incredible harm to the planet that we live on. So both of those songs kind of they on the surface could be played in a club, or they could be played in a mall or a shopping center, and like, if you're not listening closely enough, you'll think of them as what they are on the surface, but if you actually dive into the lyrics, they're actually kind of almost making fun of the listener, like in a sense. So yeah, that was really great. I love the Evanescence influence on Dynasty.
Yeah.
It was really, yeah, she wears her influences on her sleeve, but in a really creative way. Like you can hear the NSYNC, you can like NSYNC, you can hear NSYNC on Excess. You can hear Christina Aguilera on a lot of these songs, but like she takes these quirky risks with Clarence Clarity's production, and it kind of puts a twist on the music that we all love from the mid 2000s. So yeah.
Yeah, that's facts.
Yeah, any other thoughts on the album?
Oh yeah, I mean, I love what she did on Como des Garçons, and the cool concept of her relating that era of music to her feeling the most confident and her feeling like the boys. You know, I thought that was a really cool concept that she tied together, and really dope imagery. And then, you know, you take that feeling of confidence, then you juxtapose that to a song like Akasake, and I hope I pronounced that right. But
yeah, I think
it
it's
was
Akasaki
a really
sad.
Yeah, Akasaki sad, but like
We
you know, just the
we struggling with these pronunciations.
Yeah, I'm feeling Akasaki sad about my my pronunciation of the song. And so just that dive into her mental state, and her feeling out of place when she goes back to her parents' home country of Japan, and kind of feeling displaced in a sense, even though she is very clearly Japan and wears her Japanese influences on her sleeve, especially with some of the images of the album. It's very cool what she does with her image. I have to say that. And so and then that song made me think about my relationship to my heritage as well, because I'm a American born child of Nigerian immigrants. And so that feeling of being displaced when you go back to your parents' home country, and knowing that that's where your heritage lies, but your relationships and your foundation isn't really there. And so you kind of feel off in the culture and like you don't fit in. So I really felt that through that song. And then, going to a song like Love for Me, that love I can't remember what the type of instrumentation is, but it had a very 90s pop R&B sound to it. And it was very self-healing. And I just love that concept mixed with the guitar work that also capitalized on her amazing range. And she just created a sound that is another standout example of the different influences, like you said, that she wears on her sleeve for this project, but then creating an interesting song that is about self-love and understanding who you are and just appreciating yourself, Love you, love me for me. Like what an amazing title. Then I love a song like Bad Friend that reminds me of some of my questionable relationships with friends in a place like college or high school, where you kind of rip on each other and you have fun, but sometimes that creates some trauma that you don't often talk about. And being a bad friend, but being a friend, it's a weird but very relatable experience that she's detailing, of just having friendships that are strife with conflict, but they just go on nonetheless because of, codependency, essentially.
Yeah.
And just recognizing your ability to, not perform well as a friend. Then I take that to a song like Chosen Family that was just really heartwarming. And it really made me consider all the people that I have close to me that I consider family, like yourself, as well as some of my other friends, who aren't the family that I was born with, but because of the relationship and, understanding that we have for each other, creates a beautiful family-like atmosphere where I feel like I can share with them, my deepest, darkest secrets and troubles and the things that bother me, and just people to lean on. So she does so much with this album, that it is really fascinating because you can go into different parts of her psyche, but then also just have a lot of fun. And she uses metal and rock as the foundation, and she has a lot of fun with this project. So my hat is off to her. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's a really interesting and really well done album. Yeah, you got into a lot of the songs that I enjoyed. Bad Friend, I think is incredible musically, especially like when she brings in the choir at the end. Like is really well done. Everything is in the perfect place in terms of the instrumentation and the vocals. Even something like Who's Gonna Save You Now, like that's a song about environmentalism, but it almost sounds like a song that you would see like in at the climax of like a Pixar film or something, like when someone's going to like save a princess or something like that. Tokyo Love Hotel is beautiful. I love her chorus on that. Just a song about her home in Japan, but also like a song about like fleeting romantic encounters. Yeah, it's great. And then you talked about Chosen Family. It made me think about of course the family, like you and other friends that I've chosen, but it also made me think about people that are part of like the LGBTQ community, and how like so many of them get disowned by their biological families, and they have to find family within people that share uh, their viewpoints, or that they have something in common with, and that actually becomes their real family, because their actual biological family doesn't want anything to do with them. So with Rina, someone that identifies as bisexual, and I'm sure she has a lot of friends that identify outside of like heteronormative expectations, like I'm sure that song kind of serves a double meaning. So again, yeah, this is a really great pop album. I love what she did on here. There's so much to dive into, which is great with a pop album, because you have the songs that you go back to just because they're catchy, but then after you listen to it the third or fourth time, and once you get into the themes, like it makes them even better. And that's something that you actually find a lot in rap music, like where it sounds catchy, or it sounds like it's a banger on the surface, but then once you actually lean into what the album itself is about and what the songs are about, it actually adds another layer to it. So yeah, great album. Really enjoy it. Highly recommend both albums that we've discussed today for our listeners. They're both really great if you like catchy dance music, or if you just enjoy 2000s pop or 80s funk or synth or disco. Like they're both really great. They're both the examples, like I said earlier, of what pop music can be. But let's get into our favorite tracks. I'm gonna go for 4. So let me get Chosen Family, Bad Friend, Dynasty, and Tokyo Love Hotel.
All right. Yeah. I dig those. For me, I gotta go Chosen Family, Love Me for Me, Dynasty, as well as Excess. Yeah.
All right. Can't disagree. Solid picks.